We are live with BS3 Sports, BS3 Network. We are here to cover the Dallas Stars versus the Vancouver Canucks. Just wanted to give you a quick little follow up here on some hockey terminology from some questions that we had after last night's broadcast. Again, we are in the press box here in the arena. Looks like both teams have just hit the ice for a little warm up. Again, as always, in the hockey atmosphere, it is energy, 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 energy. So again, just a little follow up from the other night on some terminology and whatnot. So, of course, one of the things that we'll get into a little later is some of the lines, like the blue lines, right? So there are a lot of pieces of terminology, a lot of terms that are similar to what you may come across in some other sporting events, right? Like offsides. Well, you can hear offsides. You'll hear offsides in football, right? You also have icing. And so one of the great things that happened the other night when Bean and I were covering the game versus the Penguins, is icing. And so as I was describing it to him, he immediately said, "Oh, it's kind of like intentional grounding." So basically, in football, intentional grounding is when a quarterback just tries to get rid of the ball because he's about to get sacked. Well, in icing, it's a method of clearing the puck. You're on your own defensive zone, and the other team is applying pressure, and they're trying to score a goal. So, and a lot of times this takes place during a power play, which is when that team has an advantage on you based on the number of players they have on the ice versus what you have on the ice. So, in an attempt to get that puck out, which they call that clearing the puck, in an attempt to do that, they would just shoot the puck down the ice without any of their players there, without a play being set up, without any other reason other than the fact that we got to get this puck out of our zone, right? So it's called icing. That's one of those terminology. Offsides, when you're watching a hockey game, or whether it be in person or on TV, there's a blue line there, and the blue line basically indicates that you've entered into the offensive zone of the opponent, or the opponent has entered into your offensive zone. So that blue line, whenever you're bringing the puck into the blue line and players are coming across that blue line into their offensive zone in an effort to try to score a goal, the player with the puck must enter that blue zone first. If the player who is without the puck, that's on your team as well, if there are other players without the puck coming into the blue zone, they can't come in. If they come in before you, then that's considered offsides. Face-offs, that's another thing that I wanted to discuss from the other night that we didn't get into. So face-offs is akin to the tip in basketball. Okay, so whenever they do the tip in basketball, it's at center court, and sometimes they'll do that whenever a ball goes out of bounds and they don't know who is out of bounds on, or there's a tie up, and then there's a jump ball. Okay, so a jump ball is very similar to what a face-off is. It's where the referee is dropping the puck on the ice, and there are two players, one from each opposing team, and their job is to try to get that puck. Okay, so that's how the game is started. And during dead pucks, during stoppages in play, whenever they start to play again, that's how they start to play, is by face-offs. Each team has face-off specialists, people who are better at that than others, okay? And so to win face-offs, especially depending on where on the ice you are, those are very important aspects of the game, okay? So again, face-offs is another term. Last night, something happened that brought up another term. It's called rebounds. So one of the Stars players, and again, forgive me, I forget exactly who it was at this time, they shot the puck into the net. The Pittsburgh Penguins goalie blocked the shot, and that caused the puck to bounce away from the net. And the other Stars player hit it in. He got the rebound. He hit it in off of that and scored. So that's called a rebound, right? So you don't always score on a rebound, but a rebound is a good opportunity to try to score. Okay, so again, another term that is similar to other sports. Again, we talked about offsides, just like in football. Well, it's not just like in football, but similar to football. We talked about face-offs, similar to the jump ball in basketball. We talked about rebounds. Also, another point that's being brought up the other night is that for the periods or the quarters, right? So in some sports, you have 4 quarters, right? Football, you got 4 quarters. Basketball, you got 4 quarters at the pro level. At the with March Madness going on currently at the NCAA men's level, you have two 20-minute halves. Well, in hockey, you have three 20-minute quarters. Excuse me, three 20-minute periods. And that's how it's determined. So there's three 20-minute periods. There's 15 minutes in between each period. So when the first period is over with, each team goes into the locker room, get water, use the restroom, whatever they got to do. They come back out for the second period. It lasts 20 minutes. They go off. In between the second and third period, there's 15 minutes. Then they come in for the third period. If the game goes into overtime, then they have an overtime period. And if the game goes past that overtime period, they will have a shoot-off as well, which can be very, very exciting. So again, there are three 20-minute periods here in hockey. Something that's fascinating last night, Ben commented, and even on the article that he wrote, which you can find at bs3network.com. You can find it at bs3network.com. And you can find on our Facebook group. We've all posted it, reposted it, with his first experience at a hockey game. And so one of the questions that he had, one of the comments that he made was the noise that the shots make as they're hitting up against the boards and as they're hitting off of sticks and things of that nature. And so we started talking about the types of shots that there are. So there are shots called, and I won't get into describing the shots, but I just want you to kind of know terminology. So there are wristers, there are one-timers, there are slap shots, shovel shots, backhands. Some of them are self-explanatory, right? Penalties, again, we talked last night about some of the types of penalties, and I talked to you about high sticking, which last night I believe Stars scored on a high sticking power play penalty against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So you have cross-checking, hooking, charging, slashing. Again, I mentioned high sticking, roughing, interference. Those are some of the kinds of penalties that we have. So last night, Rope Hintz started the scoring off. He scored in the first period. And Rope Hintz actually had scored the last 2 games against the Pittsburgh Penguins. He had actually scored a goal in each of those last 2 games. Well, guess what? He actually scored in the first period last night. So that made 3 consecutive games that Rope Hintz has scored against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I had hoped to bring that up to him in a post-game interview when we were speaking with him, but I didn't get the opportunity because they wanted to bring Jake Ottinger in real quickly. We got a couple of people here. One of those individuals don't have your name here, but they just said good morning to you. So that probably is a ticket fan because we say good morning to you regardless of what time of day or night it is. It may be Richard, but anyway, that's Cole. We got Cole Johnson in the house because he understands it's a cold world. That's another thing. When you're in the building for a hockey game, it is much colder than when you're in the arena because they share an arena with the Dallas Mavericks. It is much colder than when you're in the arena for a basketball game because they have to keep it a certain temperature for the ice. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 15-minute intermissions, one in between the first and second period and one in between the second and third period. Let's see, we have a comment here. The Canucks won 2 consecutive division titles, 91-92, 92-93 seasons, 93-94. The team went on another unexpected post-series winning streak. That's all I have. So not sure who that is. It's a Facebook user, but we appreciate the input. So again, they face off tonight against the Vancouver Canucks. The Stars have earned at least 1 point in the standings in 4 of their last 5 games. Although they are 1-3 against the Canucks here at the American Airlines Center. Uh, Let's see. This year the Stars are 0-1-1 against the Canucks. They are favored tonight in some of the publications that I've been seeing, but they have yet to beat the Canucks tonight. So let's hope that changes tonight. Um, they have gone 2 for 8 on the power plays, which is 25%, and 4 for 6 on the penalty kill against the Canucks this year. Uh, Let's see, against Canucks, Jamie Benn. So just like Rope Hintz has been hot against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Jamie Benn has been hot against the Vancouver Canucks, and he's recorded 12 points in his last 10 games. Again, for Joe Pavelski, he also is hot against his team with 10 points in his last game against the Canucks as well. For Max Domi, who is a new addition to the Stars in their roster. It's a trade deadline acquisition, and he's logged 10 points in his 9 games against Vancouver. This will be his first time on the squad since we played Vancouver, so hopefully he will add some much-needed firepower for the Stars. Let's see, anything else? Okay, again, Jake Ottinger has not fared very well against the appearances. He's had 3 career appearances against the Canucks, and he is 0-2-1. So 0 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie against the Canucks with a 4.78 goals against average. So those numbers are not very good at all, and hopefully there will be a change in that tonight in order for the Stars to get a win. The Stars have a 1-point lead in the Central Division after getting a much-needed win against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is a relative, but not a mathematical, there's a relative certainty that they will make it to the playoffs. But again, mathematically, that is still not clinched just yet. So, again, all points that they can get here. This is the last game of the homestand. They will be taking a road trip after this. So the last game of the homestand until I believe the 6th of April, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully they will get these 2 points and set themselves off for a good road trip. Okay. Again, just wanted to give you just kind of a brief pregame here to the show. If there's anything interesting, to the game, if there's anything that is interesting that comes up during the game, I will post it on Facebook, on the BS3 network groups, on the Twitter profiles, et cetera, et cetera. So we appreciate you for tuning in for a Stars pregame light here, just a little 15-minute version. We appreciate the participation. But hey, again, go Stars, BS3 Network in the building for a Stars pregame light. And we'll see you post-game. Hopefully we'll get some good stuff in terms of interviews with the star players and the coach. Those things are always easier after a win. Again, thank you for tuning in to BS3 Network for Stars pregame, and we will talk to you next time.